Hey y'all, it's Shawana Stevens with the Well Network, and this is the Life and Podcast, because you know life be lifing. Hey y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Shawana Stevens with the Life and Podcast.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Shawana Stevens with the Well Network, and this is the Life and Podcast. Today, I'm actually talking about communication in relationships. So this month, we have decided to talk about things that are surrounding relationships and love for the month of February. So, relationships, they can be broken or made by the weight of communication in the relationship or the lack thereof. And so I wanted to actually talk about communication. I at some point realized, well, first of all, I thought I was a really good communicator. I thought I could articulate my feelings well, amongst other things. But I actually realized later on in life that I wasn't as great as I thought I was. And one of the reasons was because sometimes it's difficult to share your innermost feelings and really thoughts. But what I've also learned is that in relationships, if you are not able to hear each other, no matter how well you can articulate, if you're not able to hear, you can actually fail in the relationship. So, I actually want to talk about triggers in relationships because I'm actually finding that we don't always know when someone is triggered in the conversation. So, the first trigger that I actually want to talk about is being condescending. Some people cannot handle when in the moment in a conversation, they are feeling as though the person is being condescending. So, I want to actually say that when that is the case, you'll often see the person that is uncomfortable. You'll actually see that person probably shut down, or they may actually start getting loud. I want to tell you that in these situations, we do have to pull back, but we also have to make sure that we're not making anyone feel like they are being belittled. For me, that is actually a thing that I'm not here for. And when I feel like I'm in a conversation with someone that's actually being condescending to me, it makes me feel naturally like I should actually elevate and actually do the same to them. Now, we know we cannot give people the same energy that they give us, but I do want to encourage you to be mindful of how the other person may feel. And if you're on the other end of that, make sure that you're communicating. Make sure that you're actually saying, whoa, are you meaning to make me feel smaller? Because that is essentially how I feel. Be okay with actually communicating that. It will save your relationship and save the conversation. You want to be able to get through your conversations and make sure that they're productive. So try that next time when you feel like the moment is going a little too big and it really isn't that serious, or you want to get through it and it will be beneficial if you did. All right, so here's another trigger. Really, not being heard is actually a trigger. When a person feels as though they are not being heard, they can sometimes feel triggered in the conversation. I actually happen to be one of those people, but some of the times I do realize that not hearing a person or tuning a person out or shutting down on a person can sometimes be used as punishment, if you will. Sometimes we can do that to be spiteful. We can use that as a tool. And so I want us to be mindful of that because you can trigger a person to then feel smaller because you're not listening, or to feel as though they don't matter. So oftentimes when people feel like they are not being heard, they can then retreat. And it actually does something to not only their self-esteem, but it also does something to the relationship. It damages the relationship. It makes them feel as though they have to conform to what it is that you need or you want. And it makes them feel like they are irrelevant to you. And so I want to encourage people to be mindful, not to play games in that way, not to play games with people, not to make people or not to be spiteful in that way by withholding your ability to hear a a person. But then on the other end, again, when that is happening to you, being mature enough to communicate that and be okay with whatever answer the other person gives you. If they are not okay with making a change, or if they're not okay with actually stopping what they're doing, which is punishing you, and then making it known that they are hearing you, then that's probably somebody that you don't need. And one of the things that I've learned is the best way for me to know whether you're with me is to tell you what I need to know whether you're going to make the necessary adjustments for the sake of being in my life. So that's another trigger. Feeling like you're not heard. I think that we have to make sure that in our relationships, we are mindful of the things that trigger not only you, but the other person. In that last scenario, there probably was something that triggered the person that was actually trying to be spiteful. So it's a two-way street. So I know I gave you 2 triggers. I want to see if you have any triggers that you want to maybe hear me talk about, or if you want to share the triggers that you have experienced over the years. I think you should comment below in the comment section and have the conversation with me, have dialogue with those in the comment section, and let's make this a community effort to talk about the triggers in relationships. Stay up.